Welcome back to Not Now Woodworking. I'm Larry Schumer. Today we're going to turn this stuff here. This is the Incra RT Combo-4 router stand kit. And we're going to turn all this stuff into the stand. It's not going to be your typical unpacking, and I'm not going to show you every detail of putting the nuts and bolts through the holes. But we'll kind of go through the general steps and get it assembled. So we're going to turn all this. There's the wheel kit. And there's the top. There's the stand. So we're going to turn all this into the router stand assembly. Now I don't have everything today. With this I ordered the Mast-R-Lift from Incra. And from MLCS Woodworking, I ordered the 4.2-inch router motor. Here are the details of what I've got. The Mast-R-Lift from Incra, I ordered from Amazon, and that was $339.95, free shipping. MLCS is always free shipping, and that's where I got the router motor. It's the 4.2 diameter, 3¼ horsepower. I think it's the same as the PowerTech that's sold on Amazon. That was $219.95. It's on sale. And the Incra RT Combo-4, which is a 24 by 32-inch router table, center mounted. This is not going to be using the LS positioner, which is goes off on the side of the router table. I don't have room for that large router table. So I bought it from Carbide Processors because they have free shipping. If you buy it from the Incra website, I put that in and it came out to $80 shipping. So I had to look for an alternative. And sure enough, the price for the products are exactly the same, but free shipping. So that cost me $557.47. So I didn't add that up. But that's the total package, what I'm going to do. Oh, with the RT Combo-4, I did buy the shelf kit, which was $20, and I bought the wheel kit, which was like $50. That's included in the $557.47 price. Okay, let's get started. I've completed the first step, and that involved putting the feet on all 4 legs, but because I have the wheel kit, I know that it only the levelers, the feet, only go on 2 legs. So I did that. Then I separated the upper and lower cross pieces. These are the lower cross pieces because this one is for the wheel. These are the upper cross pieces, and the thing to note is the direction of the bolts. On the upper cross pieces, when you attach these to the legs, it's going to go like that. The flange is on the outside. On the lower cross pieces, when you mount, it goes like that. When you mount the piece to the legs, this is actually going to go like this. The nuts are on the same side of the flange, so the flange is on the inside. So while I was at it, this is the shelf kit that mounts the same as the lower cross pieces, so the flange will be on the inside. And I'm going to do my electrical, and I decided to try and mount the box right to the legs the same way that the cross pieces go. So I mounted 2¼ inch 20 bolts. There we go. You got bolts on the inside and the nuts on the outside. And it turns out that the hex nuts also work in the channel. These go into this part of the channel and kind of locks in when you tighten the screw. So I'm going to mount my electrical box right to the leg in the same method as everything else goes together. So speaking about electrical, I'm going to go into some detail later on how to do the electrical and what I'm going to use. There's all kinds of electrical hardware you can buy, so I'm going to give you an introduction to that and let you make a decision about what you want to use. This is a modified nail-on box. It's used for nailing onto studs before you put sheetrock up. You can see where I sanded it. On the top there was a flange with a nail in it, and the same thing on the other side. And I cut those off and sanded them smooth. And that should work pretty well. Here's what it looks like with the lower stringers and the shelf support, the shelf kit installed. Everything points toward the inside. I don't have the levels of the metal, the stringers set yet. I just got them kind of loose, and the trick, it's actually not as easy as it seems, getting the nuts inside that T-track channel. There it is there. It's a little tricky, and if you don't tighten them after you've got them in and roughly where you want them, they fall right through, and then you're starting all over again. So the thing I had to watch for, because I'm doing the wheel kit, is that the legs that have the center wheel have the leg levelers. The side that is going to have the wheels on it that don't move, not the center wheels, those do not use the leg levelers. So I had to just make sure I put the stringer for that center wheel, which is that one, on the correct side. Now let's see if I can get the electrical box in. All right, so that worked out pretty good. I had short 1/4" 20 bolts. I had to use 3 washers, 2 flat washers and a lock washer on each bolt. You're not going to see that. And it went right down the slot and locked in pretty well. I'll adjust the height of that later on after I get the top on. So this is going to be the way I'm going to approach the router. The switch assembly will be on the right. The movable wheel, the locking wheel will be on the right, and the fixed wheels will be on this side on the left. Okay, everything is finger tight. I've got the top cross pieces in, flanges going out, and these you kind of know where to adjust. They should be flush. This one slipped. You want the flange flush with the leg. But I'm not going to tighten everything till I get it on the actual router table upside down. Everything will just kind of fall into place and level out with that. So that's the plan. Well, I've got the stand attached to the router table top. The magic number for me was 1 5/8. So from the flange to the edge of the table, not the edge banding, but the line created by whatever the surface is, that's what I use as the indicator. So it was 1 5/8 between the flange and the edge of the surface, not the edge banding. So if you have a different router number, package number, it's not going to be the same probably. Anyways, this worked out real well. It'd be nice if they pre-drilled the holes, because they know what stand you're buying if you buy the whole kit. And then you could just line it up like that. It would be much easier. But anyway, 1 5/8 was the number. And note that there's a back to it. There's a seam right here on the back edge of the table, and you have the T-track in the front. So you have to make sure that you put the front on the side you want, and that's the side where my electrical is. So I made sure I got that right. So the next step was to adjust the bottom runners from the top of the flange, which is this piece here. So from the top of this to the bottom of the leg is supposed to be 5 inches. Well, that's really hard to measure. So I did one, then I figured out that the distance between the top, well, the bottom, because it's upside down, of the bracket to the bottom of the leg is 2 11/16. So I use that measurement, because that's really easy to put a ruler on and measure that. So I did that all the way around, and that set the bottom stringers. And then I just picked the number for my shelf support, and I just did it 18 inches from the router table top to the bottom of the stringer. And then I moved the electrical box down as far as it'll go. And I'll stand it up and see if it's square. So this is what we look like with it up, and it seems pretty square. The next item of business is to put on the wheel kit. I probably have to turn it upside down again to do that. Here's what the the stationary wheels look like installed. This was the hardest part to do. According to a lot of guys, they had trouble getting their open-end wrenches between the wheel and the bracket, the side bracket. And there, it is kind of a tight space. But you know, working from both sides, I was able to do it. And it seems like it's worked out pretty well. It wasn't that difficult. Okay, now we're going to put on the locking wheel that goes on this side. All right, so here's the front wheels, as they call it, assembled. Like, the instructions are showing the stand on its feet, but you can't really do it that way. So that's how that pedal works. Went together pretty easy. You will need a ratchet and an open-end wrench or equivalent to tighten those locking nuts and holding the bolt still. They're 1/2 inch is what you need for that. And let's turn it over and see how it works. Okay, so I have it all set. Here's how the pedal works. You step down and it raises the leveling feet off of this side, and then it rolls quite freely. You step on this part, it raises the wheel, or lets the wheel come up, and then it's pretty solid. I mean, I can force it, of course, it's not that heavy, and push it, but it's good. So I'm impressed. So if you just follow the instructions exactly the way they said, it works out. Okay, now we're going to talk about electrical. All right, we're going to talk about the electrical for a little bit. The core of what we're going to use here is an extension cord. The kind of wire we want is extension cord wire. And if you go buy some and a male head, you're going to be actually spending more than what you can buy an extension cord for. At Home Depot, the wire was over $1 a foot. And I found on Amazon, you can get an E-Dragon black extension cord, 14 gauge, which is what we want, 3 conductor, 15 feet long, for $19.95 for a 2-pack. If you just want one, it's $12.65. So if you're talking about a 15-foot cord, and if you buy just the wire, it's going to cost you about 20 bucks, maybe more, at Home Depot. So you might as well get an extension cord, cut it up, and you've already got the male head on it, and you can make the cord as long as you want for plugging into the wall. As a bonus, we used the female end, the receptacle end, as where we're going to plug in the router. So, and in between this, of course, we're going to put the switch. So you're going to plug it in, have the switch, turn it on and off, apply power to the female end where the router is going to be plugged in. If you need to turn on your dust collection system at the same time, your shop vac or whatever, then you have to do something different. Then you probably have to mount a box with a standard receptacle, so you have 2 places to plug something in, so they can both go on and off with the switch. But I'm not going to cover that in this video. All right, so I'm an electrician, so I've got everything I need. I didn't have to go buy anything. I've got a 14 gauge extension cord. This one's 25 feet long, but I'm going to use about 10 feet for plugging in, so I can move it a fair distance from the wall without having to use an extension cord. And I only need about 2 feet, but that much for plugging in the router. I don't know if that was out of the frame. So that's the first thing. Somehow you need to get some extension cord wire and a male head and a female head. Some zip ties are nice. I've got some that are mountable, and what I'm going to do is put these under the screws that hold the stand to the table, and that's where I'll be able to secure the extension cord wire going across. As I mentioned, I'm an electrician. I've got used switches plates and a used switch. I'm purposely using a brown one and a white plate so it's easier to see. If you have to look quickly at it and turn it on or off, the brown will stand out against the white. So I'm doing that on purpose. You can use any color you want. Because extension cord wire is stranded, it's really hard to wrap around the screw on the switch. And you do want to wrap it around the screw. Don't even think about pushing it into the holes in the back. I never use those, even with solid wire. Always use the screws. So it's really helpful to have some crimp connectors that you can put onto the stranded wire and put under the screw. Now it turns out blue is the size you need. Blue is for, well, I forget the range, but 14 wire is included. I only have one that's open on the end. So a trick is I've got a bunch of these round ones. All you do is cut out a little section and you got a spade connector. And it goes right in the screw. Okay, so now I've got two of those, which is all you need. And miscellaneous tools, stripping the wire. I've got specialized tools for that, but you probably don't. So we're going to use a utility knife, screwdrivers, wire stripper, stuff like that. Okay, so let's get started. All right, I think you can see me. I'm going to talk about the box for a second. In general, there's two kinds of indoor boxes that electricians use. The store calls them new work and old work. New work being the nail-on kind. The electrician calls this a nail-on box. And it's got the tabs that hold the nail. You put that up against the stud. Remember, there's no sheetrock, it's new work. And it's got these little protrusions on the side that goes up against the stud, and it gives you exactly a 1/2 inch or just slightly under 1/2 inch that the box sticks out from the stud, so it's flush or nearly flush with the sheetrock. So that would go against the stud like that, and you'd hit the nails, and that's how you mount the box. So that's considered new work because it's new construction. The other kind of box they call old work, and it's for when you already have an existing wall and you're fishing a wire in to create a plug or a switch. And this is called, electrician calls this a cut-in box. And there's a paper template, if you go to the store and look at the box where you find these, that you put on the wall and draw out the hole, and then you cut the hole out, push the box through, and when you turn the screw from the front, remember you're pushing it through the sheetrock, of course you're going to pull the wire through first. The wire's already in the wall. When you turn the screw from the front, that tab comes up and it catches on the back of the sheetrock, and that locks in the box. And in fact, if you're enclosing your cabinet for your router, or you're building a router cabinet and you've got a wall, wood or anything, you can use this kind of box and have your switch flush with your side of the cabinet. And that's kind of cool. All right, so what I decided, the reason I'm using, this is a nail-on box that I just took out the nail and the tabs and sanded it a little bit, because it's kind of smooth on the outside, there's no rough edges, and it's presentable. If you want to get a little fancier, you can use an outdoor box, either metal or plastic, and it'll be a little beefier, it'll look a little nicer, but it's not really required. And they're like $5, $6. These you can get for $1. And they come in different depths. If you know you're not going to have a lot of wires in the box, you can get a more shallow box. This, I think, is the deepest one. I like these when I do work because it makes it easier to fold the wires into the box. Romex is kind of stiff. Romex is the standard kind of wire you use for house wiring. So we're using extension cord wire. So what I'm going to have is the female part go into the box. I'm going to knock out these knockouts and mount this with a cable tie somewhere back here. Probably run this under one of my cable ties, and then I can plug the router into that in the back so it won't affect me in the front. So this could be just sizing. If I put one there, one cable tie there, and put that there, and you want it sticking out about this way. You always make it a little bit longer. And make sure that's the female end, and we'll go ahead and cut it. Now, I don't want 25 feet or minus that of this, so I want about 10 feet. So I'm gonna 10, this is be 2, yeah, and I want this coming out the back of the stand. So I want, this is 2 feet, and then I can have an 8-foot cord, which should be plenty. And then some sticking there. So I'm gonna go measure this and cut it and come back. Okay, so I made it 11 feet. Be a sport. All right, so knock these out, just give them a tap. And it's just some plastic piece on the inside. Sometimes it breaks away. Sometimes you gotta break it away. Okay. So there's the 2 tabs from the inside. So now you really want strain relief when you do something like this. Strain relief is so when you pull the cord from either direction, you don't want it to move. So I want about that much sticking out. I could put a cable tie right around here. I don't know, I think this will be good. This will stop me from putting a panel in the front. So if I decide to close it in later on, I'm going to have to do something different, probably undo this. So let's take out this screw. And run this one. So this is going to be the cord, the actual power cord. And I'm doing that one on the outside. About the same length. Bring these down to here. Let's go ahead and put this on. Oh, actually I want it the other way. Okay. That's right, we've got plenty of these. Yeah, think it out how you want it. So I want that to screw down like that. So I want this, that's going to put the other way, see? Yeah, that's going to do it the right way. Okay, so I'm going to start the screw, and then I'll tighten the cable tie. Okay, got enough there. Okay, that's all that's to it, isn't it? I'll leave it. I think that's good. It's not really going to get pulled. This, I'll put a black cable tie. This one does not have the mounting hole. Put this here just to keep it from flopping around. This, it's good like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do Actually, I probably will put a cable tie around that one too. Yeah, I know, I probably could have used the same cable tie for both. But cable ties are cheap and I didn't think ahead. Okay, so I want to turn this over and adjust the camera so you can see how I wire it. Stitcher cord wire isn't the easiest thing to strip. And it's usually inside the insulation on the outside of the casing. It's wrapped around each other, so you have wires kind of going across. You can't get the knife really just between two wires and strip it down. So I'm going to start here. I got the knife, utility knife out just a little bit. I'm going to see if I could tear it. It's a little hard. Okay, so we're going to go inside. You don't want to go too deep, and you don't want to cut yourself. All of which I've done. You can see how it's twisted inside the casing. And you want to get it fairly down, stripped pretty far in. So I need to extend the knife a little bit. If you make a slit, sometimes it'll just tear. There we go. I don't know if you can see it. I've got maybe a ½ inch of insulation inside the box. Separate the wires. Diagonals is really handy here. Do not cut any of the wires or else you'll be starting over. And I've done that too. Okay, this is what we're looking for. If you're kind of leery about even doing that, cutting with the knife, don't even get started then. Okay, so how this works. In electrical wiring, green is ground, so these two are going to be connected together. I'm going to use a wire nut after I strip them and tuck those back in the box. White is the neutral. White does not carry a current unless whatever is hooked up to the circuit is running. So even if this was plugged in right now, these wires would not be hot. You would not get a shock by touching these wires if nothing's running on the circuit. It's the return. The hot wires are the black wires. This is where you can get a shock. If this was plugged in and you touch the end of the power cord, you'll get a shock, and the severity of it depends how grounded you are. I'm standing on cement with rubber shoes, I get a little poke. Wouldn't be too bad. If the router was running and I touched the neutrals, then yes, I would get a poke from that, because that's the return. Even though it's AC, I don't want to get a discussion between AC and DC, but it's the return. That's that. The ground is for safety. The ground, you never get a shock unless there's a short circuit. And the reason that things are grounded is if the black wires do touch the case of a tool or something, then the case of the tool is grounded, then it's a direct short and the circuit breaker blows and you don't get a shock. So let me I need 2 wire nuts. The greens go together, the whites go together, and the 2 blacks go on the switch. And it doesn't matter which order, which screw they go on. So let's hook up the grounds first. Just trying to be neat about it. Separate them from the rest of those. Oh, about that long would be good. You always want to twist stranded wire, whatever, when you're going to do something with it. No matter what it is you're doing with it, twist it together. Here's a beige wire nut. Nice and tight, and that's going to get tucked into the box. Next, I'm going to do the same thing with the white ones. Twist them. Put them together. You can even twist them together at this point, but they're not really long enough to twist together. The wire nut has a metal insert that helps twist the wires together. This one isn't holding. Try another. Yeah, that one locked right on. So this one, you throw it away. Okay. So, tuck those in. Now I'm going to deal with the black. So the black, we're going to, about that long. Don't make them too short. Don't be stingy. I've got a deep box, so there's plenty of room for that and the switch. You don't want to have to loosen the wires from behind to have to work on this, to pull the wires out. Leave them long. I'm setting up my crimping tool. Sometimes you got to twist it, like kind of screw it on, so you get all the wires. Push it in. Could they just go into blue? There we go. You can see it sticking out. Then I know it's in there, and it's good. Okay. Now we just put one on each screw. Newer switches will have a Phillips head screw or a combination Phillips straight. This is an old switch. It has a straight slot. So once again, what we're doing with the switch is interrupting the hot wire going to whatever's plugged into that extension cord. In this case, it's a router. The switch has an up and down. It says on and off. So we put it in the right way, tuck the wires in. Now if you use a weatherproof box, an outdoor box, it's larger and the plate probably won't stick out beyond the edges. That's my only concern here, is that, you know, maybe I'm going to hit the corners while using it. Maybe not. It'll probably be fine. All right, now we're going to test it. I hooked up a multi-tool to the plug, like the router would be plugged in. Hit the switch. That's all there is to it. All right, here's a shot with the router table top and the router table stand all assembled. Ready to go, and the Wonder Fence, the Incra Wonder Fence, is in position. The high-rise shelf, I forget what they call it. Let me find out. Okay, that's the high-rise fence cap. It's not installed yet. That's how it mounts to the table. These two clamps. And I'm psyched, ready to go. So that's my video on the Incra RT Combo-4. Later today I'll be getting the router lift, the Incra Mast-R-Lift, and later this week I'll get the router motor from MCLS. If you like my videos, I invite you to subscribe. If you like this video, you can give me a thumbs up. And if you have any questions on any part of this, including the electrical, leave me a message and I'll get back to you. Thanks a lot.